There is a difference between being kind and being nice. Being kind comes from a place of strength, honesty, and healthy boundaries. Being nice often stems from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of not being liked. And it's time we stop being the nice person. Many people grow up being told to be nice at all costs. From a young age, we are taught that niceness is a virtue. The truth is, this concept of being nice at all cost, many motives than appreciation and fury are met and often surfaced by dishonesty. There is real discomfort, confusion. So we go along with things we don't agree with. We smile when we're hurt, and we bite our tongue when we should speak up. Not because we want to, but because we're afraid of what might happen if we don't. This fear-stricken behavior becomes automatic. It becomes a script we follow in every setting, at school, at work, in relationships, where we say the right things, avoid difficult conversations, and pretend to be okay when we're not. Over time, we start confusing this performance with who we really are. We tell ourselves we're just being good people, but deep down we know we are hiding behind politeness, behind fake smiles, behind silence. And the more we hide, the more disconnected we feel from our true selves. Authenticity, on the other hand, is rooted in courage. It means acknowledging your real emotions and expressing your true thoughts, even when it's uncomfortable. It's the opposite of people-pleasing. It's telling someone you disagree with them, even if it risks tension. It's setting a boundary, even if it makes someone upset. Being authentic doesn't always feel safe in the moment, but it builds trust with yourself. And more importantly, it creates real connections, because it's based on truth, not performance. When we live out of fear, we give our power away. We become actors in someone else's story rather than authors of our own. We begin to prioritize harmony over honesty, approval over integrity. But the cost of that is enormous. You may avoid a few uncomfortable moments, but you'll spend years living with quiet resentment and self-abandonment. So when you catch yourself being nice, just to stay safe, pause and ask, am I being honest or just afraid? There's a dangerous misconception that being nice guarantees respect. We believe that if we go out of our way to help others, always agree, never create problems, and constantly say yes, then people will admire and value us. But in reality, this approach often has the opposite effect. When you make yourself too available or too agreeable, others may see you as someone who lacks boundaries or self-worth. Instead of earning respect, you become someone others expect to always bend, adjust, or sacrifice. Niceness becomes your label, not your strength. Respect is not something you get by never rocking the boat. It's something you earn by standing firm in who you are. People respect those who respect themselves first. If you never speak up, never disagree, and never defend your values, then people learn that they can walk all over you without compliance. They might appreciate your compliance, but they won't truly respect you. True respect stems from self-assuredness, honesty, and an unwillingness to compromise your integrity just to keep others comfortable. The danger of constantly being nice is that you slowly disappear behind your efforts to please others. Your preferences, your needs, and your voice get muted. You become predictable, always agreeable, always available, always putting yourself last. And when people see that you don't value your own time or energy, they won't value it either. Niceness, when rooted in the fear of conflict, actually teaches others that your boundaries don't matter. You train people over time to see you as someone who can be used, but not necessarily respected. The harsh truth is, people don't admire pushovers. They might like being around you because you make their lives easier. But that doesn't mean they see you as strong, capable, or worthy of deep admiration. Real strength comes from knowing when to be kind and when to be firm. It's knowing your worth and refusing to shrink for anyone else's approval. If you want genuine respect, you need to show that your values, your time, and your dignity are non-negotiable. And that starts by refusing to be nice at the cost of being real. People pleasing might feel like a way to keep the peace or maintain relationships, but over time it begins to chip away at your sense of self. Every time you say yes when you really mean no, a piece of your identity is silenced. You begin to mold yourself into whatever others need or expect from you, even if it doesn't reflect who you truly are. In doing so, you slowly lose sight of your own values, preferences, and even personality. You become a mirror for others instead of a reflection of your own truth. Living in constant agreement with others turns your life into a performance. You wear different masks in different settings. One for your friends, one for your family, one for your workplace. You're so focused on being liked and avoiding conflict that you forget what you actually like or believe. The fear of disapproval becomes your compass, and before long, you're living a life curated for others' comfort rather than your own authenticity. This disconnection isn't just emotional. It affects your mental well-being and leaves you feeling empty or lost. The more you please people, the more dependent you become on their validation to feel worthy. Your identity becomes wrapped up in how others perceive you. If they're happy, you feel secure. If they're disappointed, you feel like you've failed. This creates a toxic cycle of self-worth tied to external opinions. It also leaves you vulnerable to manipulation and emotional exhaustion, because your sense of purpose is now dictated by how well you serve others' needs instead of your own. True identity can only thrive in authenticity. It grows when you listen to your own voice, even if others don't approve. Reclaiming your identity means learning to disappoint people sometimes, to set boundaries, and to honor your own desires. It means recognizing that your worth isn't dependent on anyone's opinion. When you begin to choose yourself, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect, you start to reconnect with who you are beneath all the masks. Only then can you live a life that feels real, fulfilling, and truly yours. Many people confuse kindness with niceness, assuming they are the same trait, dressed in different words. But in reality, they come from very different places. Niceness often comes from a place of fear, pressure, or obligation, doing or saying what is expected in order to be liked, accepted, or avoid conflict. It can involve suppressing your real feelings to maintain harmony. Kindness, on the other hand, is rooted in strength and intentionality. It is a conscious decision to be compassionate and caring even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Being kind is it's a conscious decision to be confident. Niceness focuses on surface level comfort. It's about keeping the environment pleasant, even if that means sacrificing honesty or allowing problems to fester unaddressed. A nice person may smile and agree outwardly while harboring resentment or confusion internally. Kindness, however, takes courage. A kind person can say no with love, can offer feedback with empathy, and can set boundaries without guilt. While niceness avoids discomfort, kindness embraces truth with a sense of grace and maturity. It does not enable dysfunction. It confronts it in a respectful and constructive way. This difference becomes crucial in relationships. When you are merely being nice, you may avoid telling a friend the truth about their destructive behavior, or you may stay silent in a toxic work environment just to maintain a facade of peace. That silence, while appearing polite, can actually do harm in the long run, both to others and to yourself. Kindness would mean addressing issues head on, not with harshness, but with sincerity and concern. It values growth over temporary ease and stands firm for what is right, not just what is easy. Furthermore, kindness nurtures mutual respect, while niceness often attracts manipulation. People can sense when your niceness is driven by fear or desperation for approval, and some may take advantage of that. But kindness has boundaries. It is firm, principled, and thoughtful. It says, I care about you, but I also care about myself. That's why the world needs more kind people. Not just nice ones. People who act with honesty and empathy, who show strength without cruelty, and who can love others without abandoning themselves in the process. Many people, especially those who are used to being the nice one, grow up believing that setting boundaries is impolite, harsh, or even mean. They worry that saying no, asking for space, or voicing discomfort might hurt others or make them seem selfish. This belief is deeply rooted in the idea that our worth is tied to how much we give and how agreeable we are. But the truth is, boundaries are not acts of rudeness, they are acts of self-respect. They are essential for maintaining your mental and emotional well-being and for building healthy, balanced relationships that are not based on guilt or overextension. When you fail to set boundaries, you begin to compromise yourself, your time, your energy, your peace for the sake of others. You take on too much, agree to things you don't want to do, and allow your needs to be ignored. Eventually, this leads to burnout, resentment, and a deep sense of being unappreciated. People may not even realize they're taking advantage of you because you've never clearly expressed your limits. By staying silent or compliant, you teach others that you don't mind being pushed past your comfort zone. This not only hurts you, it also damages the relationship. Boundaries actually make relationships stronger, not weaker. They clarify expectations, prevent misunderstandings, and create space for mutual respect. When you set a boundary, you're not saying, I don't care about you. You're saying, I care about myself enough to be honest with you. That honesty allows others to know the real you, not the version of you that constantly bends to accommodate them. Boundaries help filter out people who only value you for your compliance. And they attract people who respect your truth and understand the importance of emotional balance. It's important to remember that boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are doors that allow the right people in under the right conditions. They are not about control or dominance. They are about creating a safe, respectful environment for both parties. When you begin to enforce healthy boundaries, you stop living out of obligation and start living out of choice. You reclaim your time, your voice, and your self-worth. And most importantly, you stop defining your value by how much of yourself you can sacrifice to please others. For many people, saying no feels like a betrayal to others and sometimes even to themselves. We're conditioned to believe that declining requests or refusing to help makes us selfish, unkind, or difficult. But this mindset is both unhealthy and unsustainable. In reality, saying no is not an act of rejection, it's an act of self-preservation. Every time you say no to something that drains, distracts, or disrespects you, you're saying yes to something that drains, distracts, or disrespects you. You're saying yes to something that matters more. It's a declaration that your time, energy, and priorities have value, and that you're no longer willing to sacrifice them for approval. Empowerment begins with choice. When you start using no as a tool for shaping your life, you regain control over your path. You no longer allow others to dictate your schedule, emotions, or decisions. You begin to ask yourself, does this align with who I am or where I'm going? That simple question shifts everything. Instead of reacting out of guilt or pressure, you start responding with intention. You act from clarity, not compliance. And while it might feel uncomfortable at first, every firm no you give helps you stand taller in your truth and step deeper into your own authority. The fear of saying no often comes from the worry that we'll lose relationships, opportunities, or admiration. But any connection that crumbles because you honored your boundaries was not built on mutual respect. It was built on your willingness to overextend. True empowerment means being okay with disappointing people in order to stay aligned with your values. It's learning to handle temporary discomfort for long-term peace. It's also recognizing that You don't owe anyone access to your time or energy simply because they ask for it. You are allowed to protect your space without guilt. When you begin to practice saying no confidently, it transforms every area of your life. You become more grounded, more focused, and more in tune with your purpose. You make better decisions, not rushed ones. You surround yourself with people who understand the importance of boundaries and who don't expect you to constantly sacrifice for their convenience. Most importantly, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. Saying no is not the end of kindness. It's the beginning of freedom, self-respect, and personal empowerment. From a young age, many of us are conditioned to seek approval, whether it's from parents, teachers, peers, or society at large. We are taught that our worth is tied to how well we follow rules, meet expectations, and avoid rocking the boat. As a result, we often develop a habit of shaping our behavior, opinions, and even personalities to fit what others want us to be. Over time, this desire to please becomes a reflex. And we forget that our existence wasn't meant to revolve around external validation. You weren't born to be an echo of others' demands. You were born to be an expression of your own truth. Living to please others forces you into a box that limits your growth, creativity, and authenticity. You become afraid to take risks, speak your mind, or pursue paths that deviate from the norm. You hesitate to be bold because you're worried someone might not approve. But every time you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own authenticity, you abandon a piece of yourself. And the more you do that, the more you lose touch with who you really are. People pleasing might bring temporary acceptance, but it robs you of long-term fulfillment. The people who leave the greatest impact on the world are not those who played it safe or tried to make everyone happy. They are those who embraced their individuality, followed their convictions, and stood firm in who they were, despite criticism, doubt, or rejection. Being yourself is not just a personal right, it's a responsibility. Because when you choose to live authentically, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror of courage for those around you who are still hiding behind masks. Your honesty becomes a silent invitation for others to step into their own truth. You don't owe anyone a watered-down version of yourself. Your thoughts, your voice, your dreams, they were given to you for a reason. And the moment you stop living to please others is the moment you begin to truly live. Choosing to be yourself in a world that constantly tries to shape you into something else is toxic. To live by a lie is to console, because at the end of the day, the most powerful thing you can be is not what others want. The most powerful thing you can be is not what others want. but who you are. It's you. So stop being the nice person if it means losing yourself in the process. Let go of the need for constant approval and start honoring your voice, your values, and your worth. The world doesn't need more people who blindly agree, who suppress their truth for comfort, or who sacrifice their identity to keep the peace. The world needs people who are real, who are kind but firm, compassionate but confident, respectful but unapologetically themselves. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out with authenticity, strength, and purpose. Give yourself permission to stop pleasing and start living.